Hey folks, this video was meant to come out a lot closer to the start of the year, but well, as it turns out, it's tough to summon the will to work on stuff while you're recovering from surgery. If you're not aware, I had surgery in early February and spent the following 6 weeks recovering. After that, it became a matter of juggling video work with my day job and the like, and it just kinda got away from me. That said, I figured it was better to get this video out late than never, so here we are. Also, you'll notice my voice sounds a little different in this section and the last section versus the entire rest of the video. I messed with my EQ settings on my microphone, so I sound a little different now. Sorry. This tier list will consist of every game we played on stream this year, so there'll be older games as well as games from this year on it. There are a couple of exclusions though. I won't be ranking the Rogers Route DLC for Dialtown, because I've already ranked Dialtown previously, and this is just more of it. It's S tier, obviously. I'm also excluding On Your Tail, because we just started that game, and I don't feel like I've played enough of it to form a fair opinion of it. I'll rank it in my 2025 wrap-up next year. So, without further ado, let's start with... oh boy. Master Detective Archives Rain Code. Rain Code was an experience, and not a particularly good one. Rain Code, if you don't know, is a game made by the same folks that made Danganronpa. We're in a different world where there's this special organization of elite detectives with special supernatural powers called Fortes. Our main character has no memories and has a contract with a death god named Shinigami. Or as we like to call her around here, Shittigami. Because her personality is rancid. Like, I love this design. It's like you took Iron Mouse and Calliope Mori and mashed them together. And I mean that in the best possible way. But Shinigami as a character is just insufferable. Every time she opened her mouth, I hated her a little bit more. Whether it's being an asshole, or being insensitive, or just being weirdly jealous and petty, she spends nearly the whole game being entirely unpleasant. They try to turn her around in the last couple chapters, but it just ends up feeling rushed. Your fellow master detectives are far more interesting and likable.
I am so naive that the servants call me Dummy Thick behind my back.
With one notable exception.
Looks like you're in trouble already. But I've come fully prepared to save my lost little kitten.
Fucking gross. The other characters really carried this game, because the mysteries sure didn't. One of the worst feelings in a mystery game is figuring out the mystery way ahead of time, and then having to wait forever for the characters in the game to catch up with you. This happened nearly every single time. The only time it didn't happen was with the big final mystery, and that was only because the two major twists were too utterly absurd to be guessed. Unless you're Futoki. He called one of them before we even started the final chapter, and I'll never not be mad about it. I won't show you the actual plot twists, but I'll show you my reactions to them. No. No fucking way. Why didn't anyone say anything though? Like all these people see and they think it's fucking weird, but they don't say anything? Why would they go all this time without someone being like, wow, it's weird that Why would they never mention it? Why would they never bring it up? I am more mad about that than I am about the ending of V3. I'm not even kidding. This is a bigger fucking middle finger than the ending of V3. Go fuck yourself. Fuck you. That is the flimsiest fucking excuse. That is wet tissue paper. Please be wrong. No. No. I quit. Stream's over. Good night, everyone. Stream is fucking over. Good night. It's over. There's so much more I could say about this game, but I have so many more games to get through here. I haven't even gotten to touch on the awful lighting and textures. And maybe I'll make a full review of the game someday. Raincode gets D tier. A bad game, but it was fun to rip it apart with chat. Next up, Conker's Bad Fur Day. An incredibly crude classic that, I wouldn't say it completely lived up to the hype, but it was a good enough time. It's a 3D platformer from Rare, but I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as, say, Banjo-Kazooie. Honestly, play up until Slaprano and then quit. It was all downhill after that. The controls were janky, some of the levels had really terribly placed checkpoints, and the ending just kinda sucked. Conker gets a C. I'm glad I experienced it, but I'm not gonna play it again anytime soon.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess.
Slay the Princess. God, what a good game. I love me some visual novels, and this one is peak. The hook is one I absolutely love, which is like, the narrator is telling you to do something, but you don't have to do it, and that's kind of the point. It's like the Stanley Parable, but played straight instead of for comedy. The way the narrative twists based on your decisions, the art style, the character designs, the voice acting, it's all phenomenal. The overarching narrative is really interesting too. I don't dare spoil it, but it's really beautiful. It's all remarkably well done and moving. I haven't had a chance to play the pristine cut yet, so look forward to that next year. Slay the Princess is S tier. I will accept no further questions. Ah, Pal World. Bit of a flash in the pan, huh? Even though it's had like, what, 2 major updates since release, I haven't heard much about it from people since then. Either way, it's an honestly fun game. I didn't sink huge hours into it, but I had a really good time exploring and capturing pals and building a base up. I'll probably go back to it for a bit at some point, just not quite sure when. Pal World gets a B, though maybe once I try out those new updates, it'll get bumped up to an A. Next up, the game that took up more than half the year's Sundays, Persona 3 Reload. My first experience with Persona 3 and a damn good one. I had a phenomenal time with this game. The theme of confronting and accepting death, the way that theme plays into nearly every character, combat, the boss fights, the music, the graphics, the animations, God, I can't sing the praises of this game enough. Just seeing what a jump in graphical and animation quality there is between P5 Royal, which already looked incredible, and P3 Reload, I'm worried that Persona 6 is gonna fry my retinas. And I'm gonna be glad for it. P3R is quite possibly the easiest S tier on this list. Oh, and Hags? Layla! He's not a hag, he's the same age as us! He's terminally ill and he's the same age as us. He's not a hag. Oh, Dragon's Dogma 2, what happened to you? I love Dragon's Dogma. I love it dearly. But I couldn't even finish this one. I had fun! I enjoyed the combat plenty, but the game got an update at some point that just caused constant crashes and blue screens for weeks on end. There's been a lot of fixes since then, so maybe I'll go back to it, but God, what a terrible waste. I have to put it in B tier. It would be an A or maybe even an S, but I didn't even get to experience half the game. Splatoon 3 Side Order rules. Absolutely phenomenal roguelike mode with some wild abilities and powers. I don't think I've ever had more fun than getting to max out my roller speed and slamming into enemies with the force of a freight train. Also, I just love Pearl and Marina. They're the absolute cutest couple in gaming, and yes, they are a couple. No one has a wallpaper like this of one of their friends. Look at that dress, that pose, those eyes. Come on! A-tier gameplay, S-tier representation. Hey, speaking of dating, Sucker for Love: A Date to Die For. The Sucker for Love games absolutely rule. Eldritch horror and cute dating stuff all rolled into one absolutely stellar package. This one actually leans a bit more into the horror themes than its predecessor, to its benefit. Roxanne is adorable, Starlight is a sweetheart, and the cultists that you manage to befriend are all terrifying and charming in their own ways. I adored every moment of this game. Aside from that one part where I couldn't really figure out what to do for like 30 minutes, but I think that was a skill issue on my part. Also, Annnnd is forever a favorite of mine. Love her to death. My death, specifically. S tier. Even if Best Girl is still...
Immortal saying Esther summons me to them.
Esther. Ghost Trick! Can you tell I have a thing for mystery games? God, this was such a breath of fresh air after Raincode. Main gameplay and puzzle mechanic is extremely cool, manipulating objects to try and prevent deaths. You slowly unravel the mystery of who the main character is, of the conspiracy that he's now involved in, and try to save innocent lives along the way. Every single character leaves an impression, the art style is gorgeous, and Missile is the best boy. Honestly, this was the year of good dogs on stream between him and Koromaru. Another easy S tier. Man, we're putting a lot of games in S tier. Am I being too generous? No, it's the games that are too good. Hey, speaking of S tier, Cryptmaster. Another game with an absolutely phenomenal, novel gameplay mechanic. A first-person, tile-based dungeon crawler in the old style, but where the primary mechanic is word games. You play guessing games and solve riddles to get letters, which fill out your party's skills Wheel of Fortune style. Then, you guess the words to unlock those skills for combat. Your and your enemy's health bars are your names, and when you beat an enemy, you get to loot letters from their name to continue the cycle. The Cryptmaster himself is a marvelous narrator, guide, and heckler. The humor is delightful. The monochromatic art style is really cool, the music is a vibe. The only thing I could possibly call a negative is that I just wish there was more. Not to say the game is too short. I'm just hoping for a sequel. Like I said, S tier. Don't even need to think about it. Princess Peach Showtime was a pretty good time. It's a collectathon that swaps gameplay styles by giving Peach different costumes with different abilities. You've got cake decorating and frantic cookie baking with Patissiere Peach. You've got different kinds of side-scrolling action with Sheriff Peach and Hero Peach. You've got skating performances with Figure Skater Peach. And the list goes on. The outfits are all fantastic. There's a ton of personality and detail put into each of the costumes' animations, right down to each one having a different walk cycle. A really lovely buffet-style experience. Princess Peach gets an A from me. The Case of the Golden Idol is a really clever little puzzle game. You investigate these different snapshots of events, pulling out names of people, places, and items to create a word bank, then using context clues and observation to figure out who's who and what's happening. If you've played The Return of the Obra Dinn, you'll be right at home here. Didn't make for great stream material, but that's not the game's fault. It's just hard to crack jokes while every single neuron is trying to unravel the more complicated scenarios near the end. It's right on the border of A tier, but I'll give it a B tier and warn that it is kind of a niche interest. Bully! A classic, honestly. You play as Jimmy Hopkins, sent off by your mom and her boyfriend to Bullsworth Academy, a slightly run-down boarding school. From there, you begin a campaign that starts with just trying to get the other kids to stop hassling you, and ends with you as the king of the school. There's a little humor that's a bit outdated, we'll say, but the gameplay and the grimy charm is all still intact. Oh, and Gary remains one of my absolute favorite characters in gaming. Spoilers! But there is absolutely nothing more satisfying than beating the tar out of him at the end of the game. Frankly, I don't really give a crap about GTA 6. I'd much rather get a sequel to Bully. A tier. This game rules as long as you don't mind a little early 2000s edginess. Now here's a game that nearly no one has heard of. An airport for aliens currently run by dogs. This game is bizarre. You're one of the last two humans in existence, though it isn't really explained how humans went extinct. The other remaining human is your wife. You travel from planet to planet, meeting stock photos of dogs, fulfilling requests for them, and meeting up with your wife as she prepares to help her boss, Annnd Dog, with the big project, multi-dimensional travel. She doesn't know how long she'll be gone. She doesn't know when or if she'll be back. How could anyone know what will happen in the very first foray into crossing dimensions? But she has to go, and you have to let her. It's bittersweet. These two love each other dearly, but they have to part. And it's made all the more lonely by the fact that there are no other humans in this universe for our protagonist to talk to or relate to. The dogs are all very sweet, but they're distinctly not human, both in form and personality. It's a silly game about stock photo dogs 90% of the time, where the main story happens almost in the background, but it hit me harder than I expected. This is a tricky ranking. I have this notion that games that are super niche like this should be ranked lower because, objectively speaking, it's not as good as other games on this list, but, this game oozes personality and charm for what it is. And this is my list. I make the rules. A tier. I won't apologize for it. Yes, Your Grace puts you in charge of a kingdom and its resources. It's a new evolution of the Reigns formula, approving and denying requests from your subjects in the interest of keeping your various resources balanced properly. More than that, it has an overarching plot with betrayal and drama, and main goals to work toward under a time limit. It wasn't anything terribly special, but it's the most engaging version of this type of game that I've seen. I had fun with it, and I'm looking forward to the sequel. B tier. As a Danganronpa fan, I've often wondered to myself, man, what if Danganronpa was actually good? Enter Your Turn to Die, death game by majority. This game slaps. It is peak. 12 people are kidnapped and thrust into a mysterious death game, forced to compete both with and against each other in a bid to escape this nightmare. Mechanics of both the minigames and the main games are engaging. The characters are all unique and well written, characters evolve and change over the course of the story, and, most importantly, your choices actually matter. Decisions you make actually affect who lives and dies. The game isn't finished just yet, the final chapter is still in the works, but let me tell you that this game is possibly the best in its genre. S tier. As long as they don't faceplant on the ending, this is going to be a contender for one of my favorite games ever. Pilgrim, a medieval supernatural spin on the Lethal Company formula. Still in pretty early development, but what they have so far is really fun. Played it with some friends of mine and had a good time with it. I'm looking forward to future updates, because next to Lethal Company, the game unfortunately feels a bit bare. A bit lacking. Once you get past a certain point, it gets pretty repetitive. I really didn't feel much desire to play more after the first time, just because there wasn't enough content to create that infinitely replayable chaos that its competitor brings to the table. But I'm hopeful that updates will keep rolling out and fill out the game a bit more. C tier, but with hopes that it'll be climbing the ladder over time. RPG time, The Legend of Wright. Man, I really wanted to like this game more, but there's so much here that just drags the game down. The style is immaculate, don't get me wrong, but this game suffers mediocrity by 1,000 cuts. Some sections drag on far too long, such as this ice puzzle section. There's no chapter select for going back to collect secrets or achievements that you missed. There's only one save file as well. Most dialogue is unskippable. And, most egregious of all, basic options are locked behind completing most of the second chapter. You can't even adjust the in-game volume until that point, and even then, you only get 2 options for all game volume, instead of proper sliders for each type of volume. For as charming as the game's style is, the mechanics drag it so far down. I honestly think I've got to put this one in D tier. The moments of fun that I had are just too strongly overshadowed by the parts that exhausted or frustrated me. Lost Winds, a game I played as part of the Positivity Game Swap. Positivity is a little indie VTuber group made up of a bunch of friends of mine. You should check them out after this video. Anywho, Lost Winds is a WiiWare game that utilizes the pointer as your main mode of control for some puzzle platforming and exploration. It's short, sweet, and very charming. Highly recommend checking it out if you can go back in time and get it off the Wii Shop. There's a Steam version too, but using the Wii Remote is part of the charm, I think. B tier. Imposter Factory, from the folks that brought you To the Moon and Finding Paradise. And now they're 3 for 3 in making me cry. The way the game started, I thought it would be more of a departure from the previous games, but the way it resolved and the way it ripped my heart out was very much in line with the previous entries. I won't say too much since the story won't make terribly much sense if you haven't played the previous games. Go play To the Moon. And if you have played the previous games, you can expect more of the same level of quality. A tier, and I'm terrified of how hard their latest entry is going to make me cry in the new year. Overboard, a cool little reverse whodunit, where you're the murderer and you're trying to get away with it. Time is always ticking, and you have to manage it carefully to make sure you can get away with the deed. There's actually multiple tiers of success. Getting away with the crime is just the beginning. You can also bag yourself a new man, get your ex-husband's insurance payout, and make sure any remaining loose ends are tied up. Admittedly, the reruns aren't quite as fun, and figuring out how to get the very best ending was a bit more of a hassle than it was fun. Solid game, but it could have used a little bit of trimming. B tier. The Secret of Monkey Island trademark. Yeah, I get why this is a classic. It's a point-and-click adventure game by LucasArts, starring wannabe pirate Guybrush Threepwood. The writing is fun and goofy, the puzzles were all mostly sensible, and there was a pretty useful hint option for when I did get stuck. Insult sword fighting was probably my favorite part. Not just for the witty calls and responses, but for the way you take your stockpile of responses and are forced to use them against completely new calls in the sword fighting test. Really cool. A tier, no question. Monkey Island trademark 2, LeChuck's Revenge was also good, but not as good. There's a whole lot more back and forth trying to tug at loose threads. Quite a few of the puzzles were a little too out there for me to solve without hints. And I just... Okay, Jojo, operate the pump. I don't see why I couldn't have just done this myself. What? Yeah? A monkey wrench. A monkey wrench! Yeah. The ending was certainly something as well. B tier. Not as good as the first game, but I'm looking forward to what the rest of the series has in store. Buckshot Roulette needs no introduction. You've almost certainly seen this game of luck and wits elsewhere on YouTube. It's alright. Short, sweet, pretty fun. Got screwed over by RNG a little too often, I feel, but that's just part of the game. I definitely want to try out the multiplayer mode at some point, though. That sounds like a lot of fun. B tier. Hatoful Boyfriend in the Year of Our Lord 2024. I got into this thinking it would be a silly game about dating pigeons, and what I got was tragedy, heartbreak, and trauma. No, I'm not kidding. If you haven't played this game, you can't possibly understand just how far off the rails the funny bird game goes in its final act. That said, the writing is compelling and charming, and the characters are all likable in their own distinct ways. Putting the meme value aside, the game is genuinely a very solid otome and visual novel. Oh, and turns out that Hatoful Boyfriend shares a royalty-free music library with another game that I've played. A tier. Really, really great game. Home Safety Hotline has to have my favorite lore and world building of any game this year. You play as a call center worker for the titular Home Safety Hotline, assisting customers with common household hazards such as house fires, mold, boggarts, mice, cellar grottos, false artifacts, termites, dorcha, kobolds. I absolutely love games like this, where your job is banal, but the circumstances around it make it more engaging. You know, your papers, please likes, I guess. The voice acting is immaculate, by the by. Highly recommend looking up all the failure callbacks after playing this game for the first time. Some of them are just haunting. S tier. They made DLC for it, and I'm still ravenous for more. Indigo Park. Hard to give it a proper review since it's just a demo, but what we've got so far is pretty good. Mascot horror is a pretty prevalent genre at this point, so it takes a lot to stand out. The polish that's gone into the demo and the fact that we actually get to interact with one of the mascots and understand why this franchise was so beloved in-universe is really refreshing. You know, most games like this were just kind of forced to accept, oh, people loved these mascots, but now they're evil, without ever getting to see the lovable side of said mascots. I'm hopeful that the full release will really follow through on what they've built up so far. I'm predicting A tier for the full game. Don't let me down now. Mouthwashing. This is one of those games that I enjoy in the moment, then gain even more appreciation for as people smarter than me write video essays about all the little things I didn't pick up on or couldn't appreciate due to having a different lived experience. Excellent style, excellent story, and a message so nuanced that half of Twitter missed the point. That's how you know it's good. Also, please don't touch downed power lines. You can make it through. We need to try it. No! No, what do you mean try it? Hang on. Hello, electrical engineer here. Your local friendly electrical engineer here. Don't fucking touch that. What the fuck? Put your tongue on. No, Ryu, stop. Do not lick the power lines. Stop it, all of you. What's wrong with you? S tier. I won't spoil the story. Play it for yourself. Squirrel Stapler was... Well... There were squirrels, and they got stapled. I don't... B tier. Exit 8 is a fun little spot the difference game. You're trying to get to Exit 8. You have to continue forward if things are normal, or turn back if things are weird. A light, liminal horror kind of game. I've never been the most, perceptive person, so I struggled a bit, but this is a neat little game. Nothing super special and rather short, but an experience worth having if it looks interesting to you. C tier. Platform 8 is a pretty obvious upgrade from Exit 8. Rather than just turning around when something is wrong, you have to figure out how to push past things when there's an anomaly. Being forced to directly engage with the anomalies is far more interesting and tense. Honestly, unless Exit really appeals to you, I'd say skip it and jump straight to Platform 8. B tier. Click holding was, how do you describe a game like this? Tediously tense? You're in a hotel room with a masked man, clicking a clicker. You've been promised a sum of money if you click it all the way up to 10,000, which is when it will roll over back to 0. You'll be told to move around the room, to click slower or faster. It's all very unsettling, despite how monotonous the clicking itself is. This kind of thing is why I enjoy indie horror so much. It has room for bizarre and unique experiences like this. B tier. Grun is a happy little gardening sim that is totally normal. I know it said, be careful about staying out late at night. It's cold and foggy up here. But what if I simply threw caution to the wind? What if I did not heed the warnings that were so clearly laid out to me? Ah! Ah! Fuck you. That was a real scream, by the way. It happened like 3 more times after that, too. Grun falls into that kinda tedious horror genre as well. To be clear, I don't say tedious as a negative. I'm talking about these games where you get into this kinda normal job routine and the game waits for you to get comfortable in that tedium so it can make the scares hit harder and feel less expected. It's a solid formula. Grun has a lot of little puzzles to solve, a lot of time management to deal with, and some honestly satisfying gardening mechanics. A tier. Highly recommend this one. And so begins our foray into the Dark Pictures anthology. Or in my case, the Drunk Pictures. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to finish the series before my stream hiatus, but I played 3 of the 4 Dark Pictures games with friends in co-op mode. As a little bonus, we all had some alcohol to go with the games. The first was House of Ashes with my buddy Ryu. We started on a very high note. This game is phenomenal. These games are kind of like choose-your-own-adventure horror movies, each with its own cast of characters to try and keep alive. Each game has a best ending where everyone lives and a worst ending where everyone dies. House of Ashes takes place in Iraq in the middle of the war in the Middle East, and sees both Iraqi and American soldiers plunged into a vampire-infested ruin. The twist at the end feels maybe a little out of nowhere, but it didn't feel jarring. And I'm more than willing to forgive it for how well written the characters are and how engaging the story is as a whole. Most importantly, every death felt like it was fully our fault. One death was a difficult for the good of the herd sort of decision that felt properly risky either way. The second was just me flubbing a QuickTime event. A tier. Highly recommend playing this with a friend. Next up, we went from the best game to arguably the worst. The Devil in Me with good friend Bagel Gremlin. Sorry about this one, Bagel. God, what a mess. The premise is pretty good. A film crew is locked in a trap-filled murder mansion. Unfortunately, the story wasn't nearly as engaging, and nearly every death felt cheap and unfair. Particularly the first death, where, spoilers incoming, I'll give you a second. You have to choose someone to live and someone to die, but only one option actually leads to a death. You are given no hints as to which is which, so you just have to guess. Hell, you won't even know it's rigged that way until you look it up online after the fact. What god-awful design. I'm holding back because I want to make a video reviewing all 4 games in depth once I finish the series, but that wasn't the only cheap death. What a waste of a good premise. Someone's getting fired for this. This review? Okay, 193 people found this review helpful, 138 people found this review funny, 12 Steam awards, recommended, 13.6 hours on total. Someone is getting fired for this. That's the whole review? Recommended. Someone's getting fired for this.
Someone's getting fired. Can that be a raid message?
Yeah, that can be our raid message. Someone's getting fired for this. I love that.
Somebody write that down. Somebody write that down.
Write that down. Write that down. Write that down. F tier. Awful, awful game. And the last Dark Pictures game I was able to get to, Little Hope, which I played with my buddy Mino. Yeah, I had little hope that this game would be good. But this game was so close to being good, honestly. A class of college students and their professor are stranded in a Salem-esque town where witch hunts took place a few hundred years ago. They're periodically sent back in time to see and interact with past versions of themselves in a bid to stop the burning of innocent people at the stake and save their own lives in the process. The premise was really engaging, but the game face-planted both in the way you have to save the characters and in the final twist. Here come the spoilers. I'll give you a second to click forward if you want to. To save each character, you have to break their locked trait, some personality flaw that they have to overcome. However, rather than have this occur through slowly breaking them out of their bad habits, each one boils down to a single decision for each character, oftentimes in critical moments where the smart decision is the incorrect one. If you didn't make that one decision correctly, the character dies and there's nothing you can do about it. Those trait-breaking decisions aren't the ones that kill the character either. They'll die later on, and you'll have no idea when or how you were supposed to break that trait. Not that it matters though, because the twist at the end negates everything that happens. It's all one guy's hallucination. Nothing matters. F tier. You were so close to being good. You could have been B or maybe even A tier, but you booched it. God damn it. All right, what's next? Oh, hey, it's Game of the Year Astrobot. Honestly, I'd say it's deserving of the title. I had a great deal of fun with this game, both as a lifelong PlayStation fan and as a lover of 3D platformers and collectathons. It isn't my personal best game of the year, but it was a definite highlight. An incredibly high-quality game with lots of polish and little details. The soundtrack bops, all the little gimmicks are fun without overstaying their welcome. The game has a few proper challenges. S tier. Desperately hoping the gaming industry takes notice and makes more AAA platformers like this one. Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Apparently, this one was a bit divisive among critics and fans. I really enjoyed it. I think I would have liked a more mechanically traditional Zelda game starring Zelda as the protagonist, but the Echo system is pretty fun. There's a lot of creative solutions to puzzles, given how many different functions the different echoes can have. I do wish that the menus were a little less terrible. Scrolling for over a minute to find the echo you want is pretty tedious, especially when there are so many echoes that serve the same function as other echoes. And the final boss felt a bit underwhelming, but those gripes aside, the game is a lot of fun. B tier. It was a good year for Nintendo princesses. Great God Grove. Everything about this game rules. The art style, the mechanics, the characters, the story, the music, the puppets. From the same folks that brought us Smile for Me, this game puts you in the shoes of the Godpoke, a human that has come to the Grove where gods live to attend the Rift Festival, where the gods close this great rift between the human realm and the realm of the gods and induct a new god into the pantheon. Unfortunately, the newest god, King, has gone missing and started driving the gods apart. If someone doesn't bring them back together, the rift will cause a great apocalypse and cast the gods out of their realm. It's up to you to fix it by using King's Megapon, a megaphone that allows you to suck up people's words and sling them at others. This is your main puzzle-solving mechanic, using phrases to get reactions out of people, to get them to do things, or to get them to say other things that you need elsewhere. Every character, every god, every location is exciting and fun. The messages it has to impart are poignant and important, especially the one about media constantly being too cowardly to properly explore gay relationships. It's all either barely there, surface-level crap, or worse, it's history will remember them as great friends. Great God Grove calls that crap out directly. I might do a full review of this game. It's so good. Great God Grove is the easiest S tier of this list. Go play it right now. Well, okay, not right now, but after the video. Go play it. Give them your money. Okay, let's see. Who has to follow up Great God Grove? Oh, Rat Shaker. Funny story, my friend Ryu sent me the link for this game and said it was the most me-coded game he's ever seen. It sure was. There's a rat, you shake it. Bizarre little game. I enjoyed it, but it's very short. B tier. Good, but I don't know if it'll stick with me. Next, the sequel to Hatoful Boyfriend Holiday Star. It's good, yeah, but it didn't have quite the same staying power in my mind as the original. The side stories are all really charming, especially the Angel story, but the main story, I don't know, it didn't hit me quite as hard as the original game did. Still very good, and I still want more of this world and these characters, but it's just really hard to top the peaks of the original. B tier. Last on our list is Graffiti Kingdom. Now, to be fair, this wasn't my first time playing this game. I played it as a kid and have quite a bit of nostalgia for it. Graffiti Kingdom is a PS2 game where you play as the world's brattiest prince, given the power to draw your own creatures to turn into. You draw them piece by piece, and you assign each piece a function. As you progress, you unlock more and more functions and attacks to mess around with. The game is super charming. It's got that really wonderfully corny early 2000s English dub voice acting.
I live and rule again!
Sporticus energy, but evil!
The Devil's Palace! Gather my minions!
Yeehaw! Welcome to the Wild West, son, and... dog?
I'm a lady.
All right, then. Cutie Lady Pooch.
I had a really great time drawing my friends and using them to take down bosses that absolutely frustrated me as a kid. A tier. Absolutely recommend giving this game a go if you can find it. And that's it. That's every game we played this year. I'm giving Great God Grove my personal Game of the Year award. I've been waiting for it to come out for around a year, and it delivered harder than I ever could have expected. To my Twitch viewers, thank you for making 2024 my best year yet by a wide margin. And to anyone else that stumbled across this video on YouTube and made it this far, thank you to you too. I know this was a very basic kind of video, but I wanted to get a little editing practice in before I start tackling more ambitious projects. All of this said, there's huge stuff in the works. My 2.0 model is just about done. I'm in the final setup phase now. Subscribe if you haven't already, because the big debut is just around the corner, and you don't want to miss the announcement. Until then, folks, I'll see you next time. Peace!